Okay, everybody, let's make a start, shall we? I went down the beach the other day and I picked up some pebbles. And I thought, they're really nice. I've wet them so that they're showing off all their colors. And also they are, obviously when they're wet, they shine. So what you can see here, we've got the light coming from the top left and it's got a highlight. Every little pebble has got a highlight on the left where it's catching the light. It was out in the sun. So it's catching the light on the left and it's creating a little specular highlight. And it's also casting a drop shadow to the bottom right, which we are going to make a note of. And what also is notable is the fact that the light describes the shape of these things as well. Some are flat, and you can see that because the tone and the value stays the same all the way across, and some are more rounded. And you can tell that by the way that the shadow creeps up towards the center, and the highlight is a more gradual gradient which describes the contours of the roundness of the pebble. So I thought these, and another thing that's nice about a collection of stones like this is when you paint them or draw them or put them down on a page, the fact that they repeat gives them a visual impact. And I've done this several times with different objects. You can do it with buttons or coins or leaves or whatever, but when you've got a spread of a repeat similar object, somehow it increases the visual impact. So I thought we'll have a crack at that and we will try and create a pattern, not just make an observation of a few stones. We'll try and make a pattern. So bear with me 1 second. Here we go. You've got these here. Open up your sketch pads. And let's make a start. And the nice thing about something so organic and random as this is that you don't have to be too accurate. You can I was going to say cheater, but it's not cheating at all, but you can use this as a reference, a start point, and you can take it in any direction you like. You don't have to stick to the color scheme. You don't have to stick to the shape, but it just gives you somewhere to begin. So I've got 6 by 3. I'm going to put 3 by 3 there, and I'm going to put 3 by 3 there, if got time. So let's make a start. Grab a pencil, and let's just draw that shape. How simple could it be? Let's just put in our first pebble, like so. I'm just going to mute it all. Right, as I said, the light's coming from the top left. So what I always do is I also give the line that's in the shade a bit more weight. It's quite obvious there, look. That line going around the top edge almost disappears. The line that comes down there is really quite apparent. So in drawing that line there is just telling me where the edge is, but as I come on into the shadow, I'm really going to bear down on my pencil and create quite a chunky little line there. And already that gives the impression of the light coming from over there, simply by giving that line a little more oomph. Right, I use this thing. I've not used this thing for a while. Let's get some color. And I'm going to be very quick and I'm going to be very random with these colors. They don't have to be appropriate. They don't have to be accurate. I've got my spritzer thing, so I'm just going to spray those paints to get them into gear. Squeeze my water brush. The water's in the handle, you see. Squeeze that, and I've got a puddle of pigments to start off with. Let's just grab some of that. And also, I'm going to be mixing my colour on the page as well to give it a bit more impact. So, a neutral brown for well, it's actually rather a pinky pebble there. Let's get a little bit of pink going. Let's get several colours going, because it's always nice when you mix colour on the paper. And what I am doing, I'm painting the colour here, but I'm always going to leave that specular highlight there, which is going to give these colors a shine. Actually, I'm going to use this brush because I want to lift off some color too. See, if I wet that, dry it, and just do that, can you see how that lifts away color? So already I've got a highlight. I'm already starting to describe the light coming around there. And if I want to darken down this side, I can just come into here and add a little stronger pigment down there. Because this is already wet, that's going to soften and that's going to wrap around there and give me rather a nice effect. So, do you know what? I'm going to call that done. Let's do another one. Let's move on to this second one here. A bit shiny. Right. A random shape. This one's slightly more jagged. And this one is quite blocky. It's got black patches on it. Let's come down here. Let's see what we can dig out there. That's a really lovely, let me move over here a little bit. I think this is a really blue-black. So I'm just going to put in and block in some shapes like that. I think this is a Payne's grey, which is rather lovely. And also, look, I'm just painting in wet on dry. So my edges are going to be nice and sharp. Do you know what? I'm going to leave that to dry for a minute because I'm going to glaze over the top of that. So I'm going to come back to that. I'm going to move on to this. Let's do another one. This is an interesting one. Look at this. Look at the details and the waves and the formations in there. That's really rather nice. So I'm going to come in with, I don't know, let's find a little bit of, I don't know, let's come down here and get one of these sepias going. And I'm just going to put in a few lines. So you see, I'm using this pebble here with these interesting line formations on it, just as a starting point to introduce some interesting effects. Now, while that's still wet, I might actually come back with this Payne's grey and just accentuate that like that. And I'm going to let that dry as well. I'm going to come back to these things because I haven't introduced any form. I haven't introduced any light and shadow like I have done here. I haven't done it here yet, but I'm going to shortly, but I'm going to let this dry first and then I'm going to come back. And I'm going to put it on then when it's dry. Okay, let's crack on. Let's do another one down here. What's nice about this is it's a contrast, but there's an orange and there's blue going on in here. Let's see if we can recreate that. So let's just grab a bit of that blue. Because I've already wet these, look how readily that gives up its color, gives up its pigment. I've just touched it there. And because I spritzed these with my spray, that's ready to roll. That's good to go. So blue and orange combination, absolutely lovely. So let's just get a bit of blue in. Rinse my brush off. And I say orange, it's actually not far off this color here, is it? So let's go with this. Again, I'm leaving that specular highlight there. And I'm just starting to throw the paint at this to see what it does. And it's doing some rather nice things. Look at the way that color mixes there to make a neutral. This is a great exercise just to kind of play with your colors and play with your paints and see where it takes you. Now look, that's really nice stuff going on in there, but I want to try and develop that curve while it's still wet. So I'm going to come in and maybe, I don't know, let's grab a little bit of a deeper blue and just come around there and darken the value. Lower the value around this side so that it starts to wrap around. Just dropping in there, you see? Just going in with pure colour, just to make this. And of course, the kind of scrappier and the messier you are, the more organic it looks and the more realistic it looks. It's lovely. Okay, and call him done. Let's try and have a crack at this thing in the middle. I'm here. A beautiful kind of rust red. Rust kind of down here in this area. It's red, but again, there's kind of blues in there too. So let's just put this in as a color. Again, leaving that specular highlight there because it gives a shine to the stone. And let's try and create this shadow down here by coming in with a bit of blue quickly, quite a strong one. Look at the color that's making down there. Gorgeous. Clean my brush off, dab it, and let's just lift some of that paint away. So that makes it look lighter towards this top left. You can probably still do that here as well. Lift a little bit of that away to create that three-dimensional effect. Okay, look at this thing. Really nice, one of those lovely stones with those white hairlines going through them. Aren't they lovely? Let's try it. Let me show you what you can do. Try and do with that. So let's get him in there like so. Now I've got, you can do this with a candle, but I've got a white chinagraph here. And a chinagraph is what you use if you want to draw on glass or things that are shiny. It's basically a waxy, it's basically a wax crayon inside a pencil. But you can draw with a chinagraph like so. And of course, just like a wax crayon or indeed a candle, that will repel the watercolor. Let me show you. So if I make a grey, quickly grey, a quick grey, and we all know how to do that now, don't we? We take a little bit of red. How do we neutralize red? We add its complementary color, which of course is green. There you go, bit of that green in there. Still a bit red, still a bit brown. Keep adding the green. Gone too far, gone too green. All right, we can save that by coming back to the red. And eventually you bounce backwards and forwards until you get to a neutral grey. Red and green together will neutralize each other and make a grey. If it's too red, add a bit more green. If it goes green, add a bit more red. So there we go. We found ourselves a nice neutral there. Let's make this stone quite flat. And remember, I've drawn on here with my white chinagraph. So watch what happens. Look where those lines are. It repels the watercolor. And looks rather lovely. Okay, I'm going to call that done because it's already got a specular highlight on it. It's coming dark down the bottom edge like that. Let's go back up here and have a look at these things that we did earlier. This is gonna, let's put some of that nice yellowy ochre color around this. And I'm going to be quick and I'm not going to scrub. This has still got wet patches, so it's going to pull up some of this, but a lot of it's dry, so a lot of it is going to stay put. Let's see what happens. Keep my specular highlight there. And let's just put it, you know, when it hits that white and when it makes a smudge like that, it's rather nice. I don't mind it. Happy with that. That's done. This thing here, this is dryish now. Now you said, I got these markings on, but there's no form. I'd like to make it a little more three-dimensional. So I'm going to glaze over that with, I don't know, let's go a little bit brownish. It's quite a neutral. Let's just grab a bit of that. So I'm leaving a highlight up here, but I want to bring that down there and I want to darken it down here. So let's just come in and grab a little bit of something that's a bit darker, or even come straight into the pigment and just paint that bottom edge around there, like that. And then that's going to make that curl round as well. So these stones are starting to take form now. Let's see what else we can make. There's a lovely black thing down here. Let's put a really, yeah, this is a deep, deep blue. Let's get that thing here. Let's make a nice, and you know what? If your lines are a bit shaking, a little bit wobbly, you're at an advantage. You're really starting to create natural forms. What I haven't been doing is accentuating that bottom edge down there. So I can go back and give that a bit of clout. I've actually got a water-soluble pencil here that when it hits a damp surface, it kind of liquefies the graphite in here and it makes a lovely black sooty mark. So you can see I've just put that extra weight on that bottom edge there and it's really given it. Watch what happens here. As soon as I start to put that thicker, blacker line down there, it kind of grounds that line, gives it a bit more gravity, and it just makes it look more solid. Okay, oh yeah, we're going to have a lovely blue one. Really, really nice blue. Actually, there's a line in here. I don't know if you can see it. This has also got, these are my China graph pencils. Got a blue here. Got a blue. So I'm going to actually just roll that. There's a line going down there. So I'm just going to put that in there, see if I can make this. Well, do you know what? I'm enjoying just exploring what the possibilities are. That's all I'm doing. Let's get a nice rich Prussian blue going. It might be a little bit vibrant, this blue. So I'm going to add a little bit of that Payne's grey just to neutralise it. Again, I'm going to leave us a highlight. Look at that. Beautiful. Wonderful. It's like a sapphire. Make that bottom edge just a little tad darker by coming around here like that. Yeah, nice. So just putting those blue lines in underneath the blue paint, it's just given it a little bit more interest, which is what it's all about. Right, what's next? Look at that, it's like a piece of polished quartz. So that, we've got orange going on in there. Let's get some of these. Let's try and get this yellow. Mix it with a little bit of red. Yeah, that's nice. Ooh, guess we better draw our shape first. This is a more subtle version of this. So this is pale, this is gentle, but it's still got a highlight there where the sun's hitting it. And look how, if I leave it blotchy, look how more interesting it is if it's got a little bit of aberration in there. Take a little bit of that colour away, and then suddenly you've got a form. Instead of a shape filled with colour, if you've got changes in value, you've got form. Now look, see how dark it gets down here. Let's try and make that happen. Maybe just take a little bit of red and just introduce that down the bottom there. I want to try and make it roll around. Look at that, it's almost become translucent. And these little bits where it's not quite, you know, I've got hard edges, I've got soft edges. Do you know what? I'm dabbing it with my fingernail. Just a few little dabs and it's got even more interest. Right, look at this thing. With my pencil. I don't know what this is, but it's speckly. Right. This is, what would you call this? This is interesting. This is, I'd say, let's try a different approach with this. Let's try, yeah, this is a spatter, this one. But yeah, if I did spatter it, I spatter the whole page. Not that that matters, we don't mind that. This has got a peppery blue speckled surface on an orange background. But is it orange or is it one? Let's just throw something at it and see what happens. Again, got a nice form to it. Look how much lighter it is on that top left than it is to the bottom right. The bottom right's way, way dark. But the top left is pale. That's maybe a little bit. Ooh, look, I've gone straight into my paint and I've come straight onto the paper there. So I've got a very intense colour. I wasn't really thinking I was a bit in neutral then, but it doesn't matter. We can make it work. So spread that around. That's my kind of base colour. Pull a little bit of that away to make it lighter up there. Let's come in with a bit of that, but also let's get that bottom corner in there as well. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to take my tissue and I'm trying to introduce a little bit of texture by dabbing at this. See, that's starting to break up the surface. I'm in with my pencil as well. Let's see what we can do by just doing a bit of this. That's good. Let's just rough things up a little bit. I've got a few little speckles going on in there. Let's just put a hint of a dark edge down the bottom there. I've got a bit of a puddle here. I don't really want to leave blobs of water sitting on my page. For one, it takes forever to dry, and two, it'll make my paper crinkle. So yeah, look at that. That's really interesting. It's got a little bit confused, so let's just take a bit of that off. Well, I'm quite happy with that. All right, where were we? What can we do up here, I think? Should I give this a bit of form? This has dried off nicely, but I just want to make it a little bit more three-dimensional. So do you know what? I found a bit of yellow, and I know that the complementary colour of yellow is purple. So if I put a bit of purple in some yellow, it's going to neutralise it and make a grey. That is a bit of a purpley grey, but let's just put it on there. See, I'm just going to go around there. And because it's a kind of wobbly stone, I'm just putting a wobbly shadow on it. And also here, this guy could do with a little bit more of a bit more shading around here. So let's use a bit of that again, because again, it's on a yellow background, so purple is actually going to enjoy lying on top of this yellow. Nice. Right, I've got a nice collection there already. And I could carry it, well, I will carry on, and I'll do another selection down here. Let's quickly crack on, because I'm enjoying this. So we are now, where have we come to this second batch here? And can you see how visually appealing it's starting to look? A collection of things can really work well. You know, the sum is greater than the parts, if you know what I mean. This again, this is a similar stone to this. It's that lovely blend of orange and blue. So let's try and do that lovely blend of orange and blue again, but we'll probably use different colors because I can't remember what I used there. So we'll do a similar kind of approach. We've already got some orange in the pot there. Again, we're leaving a specular highlight, which gives, you know, these have got a nice shine because these specular highlights are giving the impression that these are glossy. That highlight is describing the quality of the surface. It's saying I'm glossy. Right, that's got a nice red in there. Let's come in with some blue, the leftover blues over here. And I'm just dropping that in now. And I've mixed 2 or 3 versions of that blue there. And that is gorgeous. That red and that blue. Or that orange and that blue. It's like keeping the values accurate. I'm always making sure that that bottom right hand side is darker than the top left. Having said that, now I can lift off a little bit of that top left if I want to emphasize the form. Just pull off a little bit of there. See, suddenly if I just lighten that, that suddenly makes it 3D. Right, what else have we got? Let's see. Got another speckly one here. It's rather nice. That's egg shape. So dancing around the old palette, we've got such a lovely, vibrant collection of colours here. What have we got here? This is like a, can you see that? It's like a flesh tone. These two are very similar. We don't mind similar. We can, let's take a kind of brown. Haven't really done much brown. Let's make it, let's just, again, leaving that highlight. And I'm dabbing this. Let's get some texture in this. Let's get this bottom edge darker. A few dots, speckle it up, dab it. That's kind of all right. Now, this gets a little bit blue as it rolls round. And blue, yeah, it's so nice to mix your colour on the paper. So I've got a brown, just painting some blue. And that'll blend and it gives it a real, it adds dimension. It's a really nice thing to do. Let's try another one. And make all that, try and make these bottom edges dark. Really weighs that bottom edge down. This has got all kinds of rather interesting formations in. So let's go with the pencil and now let's invent some pattern on here. Like so. Again, what have we got in terms of colour? Let's go in with a nice ochre. Let's see. Oof. Of course, because this watercolour is translucent, you're going to see my pencil marks underneath. They're going to show through. Again, I'm going to dab that just to give it a bit more texture. And also to lift off a pigment, you know, if I'm dabbing there, that is going to lighten it, which is what I want. I want it light top left, dark bottom right to create that 3D effect. That is nice, but it's one color. So I'm tempted to just add a second colour. We haven't really gone green. You don't really get green stone, do you? But let's just, I'm just down in the green zone here. Let's just add a little bit of green in there to see what that does. Interesting. Quite happy with that. Right, okay, now, ooh, we've got here a bit of a wild card. We've got something that is pitted and it's got holes in it. So let's see where we can go with this. Let's kind of get these holes in there already like that. It's a bit of a Swiss cheese, this one. All right, come back and work on those in a bit, but let's just get that overall. It's a kind of salmon colour, that is. Let's just get that in there and see what that does. But it's still got a highlight, and it's still darker down this side than it is up this side. So let's just get that in there. Leave that highlight there. It's got a texture to it, so I'm dabbing that off there like that. But it's also got deep shadowy holes, so I'm going to come in with my pencil to put these in. Like so. It's got dots and specks, it's got tiny little pinprick holes, as well as the deeper ones. But it's also, you know, that surface is spinning around and dipping and diving, so I need to get some depth in there. Let's just come in there with a bit of kind of, that's a bit strong. I want to get that edge. So all I'm doing is I'm just describing the shadow. I'm describing the shadows. That's what's happening here. But that combination of paint and paper, paint and pencil, has generated a nice effect. Let's keep it on going. Where are we now? We're down to one of these fellas again. I know I'm running over time, but I'm having such a nice time. I'm going to carry on. Orange and blue. What a lovely combination. Let's try that again. Look at this, it's really lovely. Okay, I'm going to start off with that and try a different blue. Let's try a different blue. What have I got? Let's maybe come down ultramarine. Really haven't got this fella out lately. And maybe just try spotting it because it's wet. It's going to flow and blend. I'm dabbing that away a bit there, give that a bit of form. Most of the time I've just been throwing a couple of colours at these things, but very often there's several colours in here. You can put all kinds of colours in. You can't really go wrong. Make him like that. It's a bit intense. Nice. I'm trying to hide most of the white. I just want the bit of white to remain where the highlight is. Right, what's this? Let's just... The fact that I'm not bothered too much about the shape is actually working in my favor. It's making a nice random collection. And they're visually exciting as well. So this is kind of rust on purple. So it's red, but it's got a kind of purple on it. This is going to be a very dark one, I think. So let's get, it's a kind of lovely burgundy. Let's get that burgundy colour in like so. But it's also got a really kind of strong violet going on in the background. A lot of these stones you don't realise just what's going on until you wet them, and then they come alive. So let's just see that. Look at that. I'll drop that in because that surface is wet. That's going to carry on spreading. So it looks a little bit uniform at the moment, but it won't be. I'm pulling off a little bit of paint there. And look, that's already starting to blend. I can encourage it a bit to blend and maybe introduce a few. We can maybe lift a bit of that and redistribute it over there. Oh, that's going to be nice. That's a nice one. Where are we? Here's a little bit of sea glass by the look of things. So let's just... That is just going to be a pale blue wash. A lovely pale... Ooh, maybe... Oh, yeah, I've got some pale turquoise there. Let's just get that in for this sea glass. Look at that. I've also managed to pick up a bit of ultramarine, but that's rather lovely. So just a gentle wash like that for my sea glass. I just need to intensify. It's still got form. It's still slightly darker underneath, even though it's glass. So just giving it a bit of that, just letting it roll around like so. Ah, it's really translucent. What have we got here? We've got another pretty little... And that's got... Let's just streak a little bit on that. Just maybe do a little hint of... few flecks with my China graph. That's a beautiful burgundy colour. So straight in to describe this form. It's just a rather simple egg shape. So I'm going to, sometimes it's just nice to be simple. Like that. That's all that guy needs. And then we're going to finish off with this thing here. It's one of our nice stripy stones again. I'm going to try my China graph again on this. So just spinning that. You can use a candle. Just try it with a candle. A candle would repel the watercolor. So I'm just doing that. And again, this is a nice pale gray. What happened to my gray? Let's make another one. That is a kind of orange brown. So if that's a bit of an orange brown, we need to add some green to that to cool it. That's rather nice. That's a green. It's a green gray, but you know what? Why not? And look at that, the way that it is. The waxy lines repel the paint. That's nice. And again, let's just darken down that bottom edge. Red to warm it up. Okay, and what a nice collection. So, to finish this off, I've shot way over time, I do apologize, but look, this needs, to complete the illusion of form, this needs a shadow. These need drop shadows. We've described the shadow, the form shadow. That's the shadow that describes the form. We need to just put in a cast shadow, and that is the shadow that is cast on the surface that's sitting on. These are the cast shadows. Each one of these stones is casting a shadow. Now we can do that by mixing up a neutral gray. and painting in the cast shadow. However, I've got one of these water brushes and I've put in it a dilute grey mix. So this is great. I've just got a brush full of neutral grey and I'm just going to paint my cast shadows on with this. So all I need to do now is paint, and I just paint in around there like so. The light's coming from the top left, so the shadow's on the bottom right. So I'm just going around all these fellas and painting in my shadow like so. This might be a little bit pale. I might have to go around here and do this all again a second time, give it a second pass. But this is a very, very time efficient way of doing this. Having said that, this looks like it might. This might in fact be blocking up. They do that. And I've seen people take these apart, and I've tried, but I've never succeeded. All right, let's leave that. Let's make our own grey. Is that it? Try and match that grey. Just get a little scrapper. Look at that. I've mixed red and blue and green, and I've made that. How neutral is that? So, as I say, we just need to put in our little cast shadows all the way around here, just to complete the illusion of form. And it's nice to be bold and assertive and confident as well. So it shows when you're confident. The confident brush stroke is a beautiful thing. So now we have got our collection of pebbles, beautifully enhanced in watercolor. And as I say, it was just a start point. Okay, some of these aren't actual geological representations, but we don't mind, because we've created a collection and a pattern and a painting. There. And if I wanted to carry on with this, I could come back and I could glaze over these again. I could add a little bit more detail. I could carry on working with them. Because of course, we've done this in one pass. We can go over and reglaze, we can revisit, we can do all kinds of things. We needn't finish here, but actually, I think that's rather nice. And we've achieved several effects. We've done all kinds of interesting stuff. We've got some fabulous color combinations. We've got some very interesting textures. I think we've achieved quite a lot. So yeah, that's the virtues of painting a collection of things. It's a great way to explore color and texture and form and so on and so forth. So if you're feeling a little bit uninspired, grab yourself a handful of pebbles, stones, buttons, biscuits, leaves, whatever, and do a spread like that. It's a nice way to work. Okay, everybody, I've shot way over time today. I do apologize. Let me say bye to everyone.
Thanks, Martin. Thanks, Martin. That was lovely.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure. I'm glad you stuck with me.
Yeah, I don't mind you overshooting, you know.
You don't?
No.
Oh, good, good. All right, everybody, lovely to see you all. Enjoy exploring your paints, and I'll see you next week.
See you tomorrow. Bye.
And tomorrow, yeah.
Take
That's
care,
all of you,
everyone.
yeah.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody. See you, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.